Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Goose Chasin' Podcast. Holy moly, I feel like I haven't been on here in a month. I don't know if it's been that long, but it's been a minute. It has been a wildly crazy summer. When is it not? And it's been a little tough for Dave and I to collide with schedules the last couple of weeks. And again this week, because I'm here and he's not. Dave is actually filming this week in Virginia for the Crossroads, and I actually got a little window here available, and then I'm actually doing some filming, amongst other work, but some filming for the Sunset Bay Walleye Tournament up out of Dunkirk and Lake Erie this weekend. I think the main event is Saturday. I think they do a big fish on Friday, and they do like a captain's meeting and stuff on Thursday, and then tournament results and breakfast of the pros on Sunday. So got a full weekend with that. It's a few hours each day, at least the filming portion of it, but that should be pretty interesting. I'm excited to go there and check that out. Big tournament. They have like 500 grand and different prizes and cash for the winner. So that should be a really, really cool event. I'm excited to be a part of that, but we're going to put together a little video for them about the weekend. So that's partially what I'll be doing this weekend. So a lot of filming going on outside of the TAGNBRAG content this week. But it's all exciting stuff. We're happy to be a part of it, but not a huge walleye fisherman, actually. I mean, we go on Lake Chautauqua and stuff, but I've been fishing on Lake Erie a few times for them. But yeah, it'll just be interesting to see the tournament layout. We know a lot about the bass tournament layouts because Uncle Jay is just a phenom on the largemouth and smallmouth waters. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I was literally just thinking of how fast this summer is going. I don't know. I mean, everybody says that. I say that probably every summer, but I feel like it hasn't even started yet. And all of a sudden it's 4th of July, and now all of a sudden 4th of July was a week ago. So I don't get what's going on here, but it's going too fast. Maybe it's just the busier you get, the faster things get. But man, I wish summer was like a month or two longer. But deer season is upon us very quickly, and that's always exciting. We're starting to ramp things up here, folks. Mid-July, these deer, these bucks are starting to form their shape. I mean, we've seen a couple bucks that are like damn near, they look like they're full grown already. It's a little bit different in New York, but this is the time where people start getting excited. This is the time where the anticipation grows. This is the time where things start to get a little antsy. You start seeing them horns growing. The bow comes out. You start slinging arrows because you're like, honey, I gotta get myself prepared for the season. We got bucks on camera. But, you know, it's funny. Our summers with watching bucks are like hit or miss, but our property in New York specifically, we house a lot of does. There's just, in general, there's a lot of doe in our area, our county. They do not give out a ton of doe tags. So it's just, we have numbers, we have large numbers to begin with, and then you add food and stuff to your property, and, you know, naturally you pull some more in. So we house a lot of does on our property, especially in the summer. And if you start to follow the patterns, you know, frequently through the summer, the bucks and the does, they just don't like to be around each other a ton. At least they don't like to bed near each other. And for whatever reason, we bed a lot of does, and we just don't see a lot of bucks throughout the summertime. And it's a love-hate thing, because now is the time to get excited. It's a blast to start getting your cameras out, and then you get a nice buck on camera, and then you just it starts to motivate you to do more and more and more. You start getting stands ready. You start putting out a couple more cameras. You start shooting your bow. It's like sometimes it's the opposite for us. And we're sitting here and we're just like, man, they're just, where are bucks? Where are bucks? Where are big bucks? And the more you think about it or experience it, it's, like I said, it's a love-hate thing because you love to see it right now. You hate to not see it. But a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, everyone that watches bucks all summer long, they all dissipate in September. And then all of a sudden you were excited for this particular buck all summer long, and now he's gone. Or most of the time what happens is you're watching a bachelor group of bucks all summer long, like on your cameras or on your specific property, whether it's, 3, 4, 6, even 8 bucks that bachelor up together. Normally what happens is they all disperse and one of them, maybe 2, depending on how big your property is, but one of them sticks around. And, sometimes it's the right one, but sometimes you're like, damn, where did that one go? Where did that one go? They all left and now there's only one here. It happens so frequently, but going back to our property in New York, we don't normally get any bachelor group of big, older deer. I mean, they usually... that age class of bucks usually bachelors up together, and then you'll usually get 2 and 3 year olds that stick together. And man, we see some small bucks, but we just don't see them until September and October, and that sucks. Makes the summer kind of boring for running trail cameras and just not getting the excitement up. But if you were going to have one or the other, I certainly would rather not see bucks throughout the summertime and have them all show up, in September, October when the season starts. And that is what happens 90% of the time with our property, is because we hold so many does, and these does they're always, we call them residents, because they don't usually travel very far, and they have their spots where they bed, and they kind of stick to smaller home ranges. At least we think so. And so we get a lot of bucks that move into our property, that pre-rut time, even just when they get hardhorn, because they're figuring out the pecking order. They're trying to figure out where to live for the rut, where they can establish their grounds, where are they going to be able to breed some does, where are they going to have less intrusion with, obviously, pressure from hunting and stuff is one thing, but they got to kind of spread out and find their own areas. And when that period of time starts to happen is when we get a lot of nice bucks that show up on our property. And it's certainly a benefit when you look at it that way. Again, it's tough to have the opposite of that, of watch them all summer and then all of a sudden they're gone and you're just like, wow, what a buzz kill. Because that's happened to us before too. But honestly, we've had a couple summers up there where we've had some nice resident bucks living there. Don't get a ton of pictures and videos of them, but maybe start to see them towards the end of July and August. This is usually right at the time where you start to see a couple bucks show up. So we're waiting for that. We've gotten a couple random photos of just bucks passing by in the background, and you just see nice rack, and you're like, man, who the hell is that? But that's been it. So we've gotten little teasers thus far, and haven't gotten the full effect with a buck that's showing up consistently. And we don't worry about it. I used to get so stressed out about it. I'm like, it's so dumb. I've put cameras all over this property starting in end of June, beginning of July, and you just see absolutely nothing till October. So we've experienced both, and it's so funny. It's like the same. A couple of our properties we hunt here in Ohio are literally the same. We have one of our properties, we know of 4 really, really good bucks that all lived last year and haven't seen one of them since the end of last year's deer season, like end of February. They all went back to wherever they live in the spring, summertime, and we will not see them until October. So you just got to kind of hope that they show up, hope they make it that far. But it's unfortunate that you can't watch them through the summer. We don't know where they are. We don't know where they go. And it's always a tough time. But nonetheless, it's getting to be that time in the summer where anticipation's high. I've been full go with food plots. And that kind of ramps me up no matter what. I have all my focuses are on that and just trying to get everything as good as possible, which never is perfect. Just isn't. There's too many variables every year. But everything's looking pretty good, honestly. I think I missed last week's, maybe the last two goose chasing podcasts because of food plot stuff. And our property's growing up in New York. It's more and more work every year. And the more you do, the more results you see. And then it's an addiction to want to do even more. So it's a vicious cycle. You just want more. You want to do more. You see results. It makes you hungry for more. But I love it. Love every minute of it. We planted a lot of corn this year. I would say two of the 4 fields that we planted are doing very well. Others are a little bit, little scarce, I would say, a little weak. But we expected, we put in a whole new destination field, which is kind of what we've been targeting on our Food Plot Chronicles, the journey of this new field. And it's kind of interesting because as long as we've been alive, as long as we've known this particular property that we just added on to ours, this field's never been agriculturally planted. It's been grass and hay for at least 30 years, and I'm thinking it's way, way beyond that. So we had to plow all that up this year. And, I mean, the dirt, everything was a mess. The dirt is not very good. It's very, as they would say, sour. And so weren't really expecting a super good crop this year. But we do have a good amount of corn coming up. Just put some nitrogen down on a little less than a week ago. So I'm hoping that really gives it a booster. We got a rain the last, maybe yesterday morning or the morning before, to hopefully push that nitrogen into the soil and give that corn, give them the onions. So I swear the nitrogen, if you plant corn, you have to do it. You got to give it a feeding. Call it the feeding. But our buddy Ryan says you have to put down a pound of nitrogen for every bushel of corn that you want per acre. And it actually, from what I'm told, it's not even the pound of the fertilizer. Like most of the nitrogen you get is 4600, which is 46% of its nitrogen. So you really need, if you want 100 bushels per acre, you need to put basically 200 pounds of that fertilizer down to get that 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre. It's amazing to see when you increase the nitrogen, any nitrogen, what it does to the corn. I mean, that stuff will shoot up like a rocket, if you give it a good amount in like a week or two. It's crazy what it does. But the more, it almost seems like the more you give it, the faster it goes. And it's kind of the same for the green monster that we just planted for with white gold. And it's just a border blend. It's a access blend to get into a lot of your spots that, if you have a food plot and it's a field and you need, you got a blind out there and you need to figure out how to get in and out of it undetected. Well, you can plant this stuff around the front of the blind, or just create some sort of wall or barrier that you can slip down the blind and walk out of, or tree stand, if you're on a tree line or whatever, but just be able to walk behind to get in and out. And it works so good. But it's a sorghum, it's a grass that likes nitrogen just like corn does. So if you give that a nice feeding, which we did, it goes a very, very long way. But that stuff, it's not the easiest to grow, at least on our property, because we deal with so many grasses, weeds, and man, they're a pain in the butt. But if you can control the weeds, we do as best we can with it. And this year we drilled in that Green Monster blend, and I think it's coming up really, really nice. I'm actually very, very excited about it. But this stuff gets super tall. And funny thing is, the deer will actually, we find that when the snow hits or some other food gets scarce, these deer actually hit it a ton because they have I don't know if it's the sorghum or maybe the Egyptian wheat that gets the seed on top that the deer actually, they love. So that's going very, very well for us. We have had horrible luck growing a type of sorghum blend in the last couple of years. And we planted that Green Monster this year, and it all seems like it's flourishing. And usually midway through July, the dog days of summer, that hot time of summer, it's like a 6-week stretch. If you get warm temperatures, that blend, and corn for that matter, but that blend loves heat. So you get them dog days of summer, and that's when you're going to get, a foot a week of growth. Just let it rise. Let it rise up. So all that stuff's in the ground. I got, what did we do last week? Sprayed all our beans. Couple patches in the corn we had to spray, and then my dad and I, like I said, spread all of the nitrogen out. We were doing the hard labor spreading the nitrogen, but we tried a pre-emergent herbicide this year, which was awesome. It really removes a step. It's just you want to make sure your corn is planted very, very well, because if something doesn't go right during planting and you put down your pre-emergent, you can replant your corn, but that's about it. You're not going to be able to put turnips, brassicas in the fall, because this pre-emergent will literally just kill it. So that stuff worked out very, very well. In a couple spots where our corn didn't come up good, obviously it's biting us in the keister, because we probably can't go in there and replant any type of turnip or something. But spraying corn is always a pain in the butt, especially when you're using not a corn planter to plant your corn, because it's not spaced out enough to drive a tractor perfectly through the corn without running any over. So it's always a pain in the butt. So that was we did that on 2 or 3 of our cornfields this year, and it worked out so good. You don't even have to spray them again. Just go through and give them your nitrogen feeding, and huge step. Like I said, that's a huge time saver. I like saving this step as opposed to just spraying it on right before the field. You can just buzz around and, you're just spraying dirt. So it's not like you have to maneuver around actual corn and worry about what you're running over and crop loss and all that. So lots going on at Camp Cuddy. And as soon as you think you're done, as soon as you think you're like, wow, man, I can finally simmer down and take a break and just chill for a couple weeks until we got to do fall food plots, it's there's something else you got to do. So I'm getting ready to do fall food plots. We sprayed a lot of our plots probably a month and a half ago. Weeds obviously still come up after the fact, so we're going to go through this week, give them one final spray or spot spray, just clean up all of the weeds that are coming up in our fall blend fields, which we got like 6 to 8 fields we got to plant. Some of them are small, obviously, but we got our work cut out for us here in the next 2 weeks. In New York, definitely a shorter growing season. If you look on the map, it's so funny. We were just talking about this, but if you look at a lot of climate maps for growing anything, from where we are, at least from where I am in Northeast Ohio, to where Camp Cutlet is in New York, I can literally get there in an hour and 35 minutes from doorstep to doorstep. and it's a different climate zone on the growing map. I think this is like 4 and 5 or something is New York, but it's crazy that between these two, that climate line changes, and it makes sense because it is always 6 to 8 degrees for sure, sometimes more, colder there than it is here. Summertime, fall, whenever. 6 to 8 degrees colder there all the time. And we usually just get more weather there. So, and you can even notice it with the deer, the bucks growing. It's amazing. It seems like most bucks on average, obviously they're all individuals, so some are way out in front of the others. But for the most part, it seems like bucks in New York are 2 weeks behind the growing of their racks than they are in Ohio. At least even where we are, Northeast Ohio, not even down south. Like I said, that's got to just be from it's a different growing season, different phases, but it's and then when the fall comes, shit, it's the same thing. You go up to New York and it'll look like, the peak leaf changing colors it seems like it's 2 weeks prior to when it is here. So it's just a whole nother step, a whole nother place up there in Western New York. But we got a short growing season, so I like to get the turnip, the fall blends in, usually the last week of July. A lot of people will say, like, oh, you plant them in August, first week of August, even mid-August. We like to plant them end of July. I just think we like to get enough, get those green blends enough time to get big so there's groceries in your field. And then you get that first frost and stuff, and usually the growing is done right after that. So, but definitely want adequate time to grow, especially, you could gear for planting at the first week of August, and you might not get rain for a week. So then it delays the germination, and then boom, you set you back a week. So I feel like if we do it that last week of July, it kind of protects us from that, gives you a little extra time to get them turnips, radishes, brassicas, get some rolling. And I think that works out really, really nice for us. But we're looking forward to planting some more of our white gold blends then. That's where I think some of their best blends are too, is the fall food plot stuff. So we're really excited to get that stuff in the ground and get some lush green grocery full fields for these deer. A lot of green to grain transfers, all that good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, man. What else do we got going on in this world? I got a basketball game tonight, man. Still been hooping. Even though I got a bum shoulder, which I hurt hooping. And, I feel like it keeps me young a little bit, guys. You gotta stay active. I just love playing the game. And it's such a good cardio workout. I'm literally just pouring sweat when I'm done playing. It just feels amazing. Sweating is healthy, and I love playing. But I got a game out at 7:50 p.m. tonight, so I got to leave here in a little bit. But it's always good. It's always good catching up with y'all, letting you know what we're doing. I got Uncle Jay coming up this week. Actually, shout out to our cousin Joey, who is a skeet shooting machine, absolute machine. But she is shooting down at, I think, national tournament in Columbus as we speak. Tomorrow, I think she shoots. So best of luck. Best of luck to Jamie. Shoot him up. I mean, she's so good. It's insane. So that's down in Columbus right now. Uncle Jay and the family are down there watching, and then they're actually coming up to New York, Lake Chautauqua for a couple of weeks as like their summer vacation. So I may have a little Uncle Jay help at Camp Cutlet to try to prep maybe fall food plots or just do some of the important stuff that honestly I don't get a lot of time to do, which is prep tree stands, clear our trails, road systems, But, if you give Uncle Jay a chainsaw or a piece of equipment, you have to be very, very careful because he's going to use it to the fullest. Even if him and Dave are going to use the equipment to the fullest, if it's not recommended to use a piece of equipment a certain way, they're probably going to use it that way. So you really have to invest in quality tools at camp, and then you also have to expect some of them to come back broken. And you know what? Hey, I respect the creativity they get sometimes to try to get jobs done with equipment that they may have only brought in the side-by-side and not, coming back to camp and getting the right piece of equipment. It's like, hey, let's stand on the roll bar of the Rhino or Ranger or whatever they got, and then we'll use the pull saw to try to get that one extra branch that probably doesn't need to be taken down, but we feel that it does, so let's get it down. And then they'll get the extension saw stuck up in the tree, and then they cut the whole tree down to get the extension saw out. And it's just it's a mess. You get, God bless. We got to have their help. But they usually need an advisor of some sort on duty with them. And most of the time, that person is not available, so we have to send them off by themselves. If you send Dave and Uncle Jay off together, like with a little side-by-side full of equipment and just those two, then, good luck. Good luck to your stuff. But no. All jokes aside, we're looking forward to getting Uncle Jay up there. And then Dave's coming up in, I think, beginning of August, so he'll have some work cut out for him as well. It's insane. Like a couple weeks away, I feel like, and then it's August. And then bada bing, end of August and North Dakota is here. It's like it's crazy how close deer hunting is a month and a half away, and I feel like it's still spring. So riddle me that. We got a lot of exciting hunts coming up this year. North Dakota, because I have a wedding. This man's getting married. God bless. North Dakota for Dave and I it may be broke up a little bit. We might get a couple trips in out there, so that could be super, super exciting. Although we've heard from several people that they had one of the worst winters from a snow standpoint that I think they've had in a long time. Record snowfalls in a lot of places in North Dakota. You've probably heard similar things out in like Colorado. These animals, it's horrible. They literally got buried in snow and lost, large population loss, and I think a number of different states and across a number of different species: elk, mule deer, whitetail, and I don't think it was any different in North Dakota. Some spots we've just heard that they could expect a 30 to 40% deer loss. So it's going to be very interesting this year. Not sure what to expect. Hopefully that's not entirely true, or that, if it is true, it's remote areas, and, hopefully these deer can recover fast. I know when they get wiped out from like EHD and stuff, and I don't know percentages of populations that get taken out when EHD is bad, but we've gotten hit with it in Northeast Ohio. I think it was in 2012 was when we got hit hard. And it was 2 or 3 years, like, there were no deer. Like, when I say there were no deer around. It took 6 years before we were just able to say, like, okay, the deer, like, the population is just starting to get back. The bucks that were born after the EHD or made it through, the young bucks, like, are getting to an older age again, but there were no mature deer. It was sickening. So certainly have experienced what a lot of a population what a lot of a population getting taken out can do to the hunting, and it can really put a damper on it for years. So hopefully these areas can recover quickly, or that it was just remote areas so the general state can get still some good hunting in. But yeah, I don't know the details on how insane it was in other states. Just heard from some farmers and local people that the North Dakota population definitely took a hit in certain spots. So it could be very different, but we got other exciting stuff. Dave's got a Kansas tag this year, which is very exciting. We've never hunted that state before, so that is something to look forward to. Can't wait for that. And we have a couple new spots here in Ohio, and we have a couple exciting deer that I think we're going to be hunting. So y'all are going to have to stay tuned as we get things ramped up close to the season. Y'all are perfect and beautiful people for doing that. And I think it's going to be a good year. And if it's not, we're going to have fun regardless, because that's what it's about. Am I right? Am I wrong? Think I'm right. Think I'm right. So hopefully this is a quick one this week, folks, because I'm running against time here. But hopefully we get Dave and myself on the podcast next week to mix things up a little bit. Get a little of the mojo going as I go exit here soon to go play some hoops. Meanwhile, I've been watching a little, I don't know if any of you are basketball fans. I am, because that's what I like to do, but been watching a little bit of summer league here and there, because that's like the only thing that's on right now other than baseball. And man, Cavs, Amoni Bates, you see him, he's lighting it up in summer league, cooking it up. Fun to see that, because hopefully he develops and we get some good years out of him. He gets into that rotation, grows into one of our elite players, and we can really be something special here in the next couple of years. So pumped about that. Tell you that, pumped about that. But every time I go to play basketball, it gets me all fired up about the Cavs and stuff, because that's just the way my blood works. Just like when you look at trail cameras of bucks, you get all fired up about going hunting. So that's just the way it is. But man, I have an issue. I have a addiction, and it's looking at Moultrie photos on my phone. And it gets worse. I say it gets worse during the season, but it's like not really any worse. Like, it's so bad right now. And it's the middle of July, and I probably should take off the push notifications. Sorry, honey. But that thing goes off, and I got to see what it is. And the problem is, the more cameras you run, the more you want. And then the more cameras you have on the app, the more times it dings. Goodness gracious, this thing's going off all day, because we got cameras in Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, New York, and they're just the ding, the ding, 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 the ding, the ding, 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 and I'm over here like, what's on it, what's on it, what's on it? Like, I'm in full-blown November mode right now on my phone, because I just want to see some horns. I want to see some velvet horns. Just gets my blood boiling. So I'm full-fledged watching the app right now, and it's getting me all sorts of excited. So the growing season is on, folks. Let's roll. We're going to do everything we can to get Dave and myself on here next week. We'll follow up. We'll let you know how some walleye tournament is going. We'll let you know how Dave's endeavors down there in Virginia went. And then we're going to start talking just about more of our food plot stuff, some of the specific blends that we're going to be using for the fall that's coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be planting them, and why we're placing them, where we're placing them. A lot of good blends from White Gold, and going to be prepping that stuff here in the next couple of weeks. So if you're following along on Food Plot Chronicles, here coming up on Friday, I'm going to be getting the fences up around the beans, which is so crucial. And I'm realizing this year that it's even more crucial than it's ever been. I don't know why. All years are different, but for whatever reason, last year it seemed like our fences and the beans just didn't get as much pressure as they normally did. And then you're kind of on that wavelength. Well, this year, the beans that we are growing outside of our fences are like completely gone. These deer are just literally destroying them. We got trail cameras up on the outsides of these fences, and there's deer in them all day, all night, crushing the beans. They're running into these fences. They're breaking them. You got to check them every time I'm up at camp, I got to go check the fences, make sure they're hot and running. Because these deer and these groundhogs will literally destroy your field in a couple of days if you're not careful. And once the beans get past that one, once they get past splitting a few times, they get 6-8 leaves on them, then usually they can outpace the browsing of the deer. But holy moly, these deer and groundhogs just love these beans. They're just so highly nutritious, and they just want them. That's what they're targeting right now. And like I said, every summer is different, but it seems like it's excessive at the moment. So really gotta utilize that step, especially if you're planting soybeans, at least under 3 acres. And obviously it's very expensive to do more than that. So if you're doing more than that, then God bless. But if you're doing small plots of beans, which can be super, super powerful, and I recommend it, but it does take a lot of work because you have to, if you're in a high deer density area, you have to put a fence up. You got to put something up to keep the deer away for a little bit so those beans can get up and growing. And that's what we're doing this week on Food Plot Chronicles, a major step. We'll show you how to do it on Food Plot Chronicles, and then in the coming weeks, like I said, we'll be showing you putting down nitrogen, spraying these food plots, which is also a huge key, and then just starting to prep for our fall food plots, which you can't do early enough. Now's the time you want to spray if you haven't already. If you did already, that's great, but now is like the cutoff time. You got to spray now if you want to plant in 3 weeks to kill down the root systems in that vegetation so you can till up, disc up, however you're chopping the soil up, but you got to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be beating a dead horse for a little bit, or you're going to have to be tilling and disking your keister off until you can chop everything up enough to really plant it. So keep following along as we go through our summer journey, and we're going to also be sharing with you, which we've already started, some trail camera tactics as we start to get along the season of getting the cameras out, finding a buck, and just getting excited. Right now is not a huge time to worry about where are they at, where's he bedding, finding out all this information. Don't pressure yourself too much on the clues at the moment, because they're going to change in the next month, 2 months. They're all going to change. So just find out he's there and in the area, and then it's game on. And then you put your antennas up and you start watching his future moves. But just find out that he's there right now, and then it's a green light. It's go time, baby. But it's been fun chatting with y'all this week on Goose Chasing. Feels good to be back. It really does. And we're going to get Dave and myself together here next week, and we're going to create some mojo is what we're going to do. But everybody, kick this midsummer week's rear end, seize the day, be productive, have fun, do what you love, all those good things, and we will see you right here next week on Goose Chasing. God bless y'all.